One of the most popular videos I've ever done was credit cards for beginners, that first time credit card guide, exactly what credit cards are, how to manage them properly, and also pics of some of those cards you might want to consider for your first card. But that's also, not only has been really popular, I've had a huge number of comments and questions with people following up, trying to sort of work out about this or about that. So in this video, I'm going to go through some of those top questions, your questions about first time credit cards. Okay, let's start with this first comment here from Jasmine. And Jasmine said, you mentioned near the start of the video about using the credit card every single month and then paying it off completely every single month. So if I were to get a credit card and use money from it every 3 months, for example, instead of using it every month, would it affect my credit score negatively? So basically, if I don't use the credit card regularly, will it lower my credit score? So the answer here for Jasmine and for all of you guys, if you're thinking the same thing, is that no, if you don't use your credit score, it's not going to hurt it. You're not going to see a dip because you haven't been using it for any amount of time. However, if you are getting a credit card for the first time or later on to try and build your credit rating up, you want to improve it, then the credit reference agencies are looking for a regular payment. So it makes sense to do it every single month if you can, because that shows a consistent, responsible relationship with credit. You're spending on it, you're clearing it. You're spending on it, you're clearing on it, and keep doing that month after month. Now, at the other end of that, we've got this question from Channel Tube who says, thanks for the informative video. Say I used a credit card only for travel as I go to university and work. Is this okay, as I will use it 4 times a week, which is quite a lot? So that frequency doesn't matter in terms of using it too much if you're using it for regular spending. You know, if you have stuff every single day, it doesn't matter if it's stuff that you're spending money on all the time. That's all great. What the credit reference agencies are looking for, as I say, is that total balance, not how much you spend necessarily, but are you spending on it? And as I said before, then clearing it again. So it doesn't matter. As long as you can, at least every month there's something, hopefully you're going to see some improvement on there. Of course, just to reiterate something that I mentioned in the other main video as well, is that you should only really be using these credit cards, any credit card, for your everyday expenses, the stuff you're spending money on anyway. Don't get tempted just to go, oh, well, I'll put it on the credit card. I'll put some money on there, whatever, you know, because I've got access to it. So I'll sort it out later. No, just your everyday stuff. So travel is a perfect thing for that. Supermarket is a perfect thing for that as well. You do have to be careful of something called credit utilization. And this is where how much of your credit card you've used versus how much you can use on it, the credit limit. So let's say you have a limit of £1,000 and you spend £800 on it, then that is an 80% credit utilization. Ideally, you want it to be down nearer 30%. Okay, that's the kind of what the credit reference agencies have told me, and I've sort of written elsewhere. That's a good area for you to aim for, 30% of your credit limit. It sort of shows that you're not using it too much, you're not reliant on credit, you're just using it a little bit. So that's something to think about there. So you might not want to put everything on it, maybe just some of your things. And we actually have another question here, the next one from NYX about credit utilization. And they said, I have my first credit card and usually pay it in full 7 days before the due date. The moment I'm utilizing 4 to 5%, do you think I should increase it to 10% to help improve my score? So as I was saying just now, what the credit reference agencies recommend is 30% credit utilization. And this is across, if you've got more than one card, across both of those cards. So it could sort of balance out over there. So I would say if this person here, they can increase it from 4 or 5% to 10% of that limit, fantastic. But you've got a few things to remember here. What is the size of that credit limit? Now, normally on your first credit card, that limit's going to be quite low. Maybe it's only a couple of £100, maybe 500 quid. So you should, with your everyday spending, be able to get to 30% of that. But hopefully, okay? If you've got a much higher credit limit for whatever reason, then all of a sudden, increasing that percentage gets a lot harder. So I say the most important thing here, the most important thing with any credit card that you've got at any stage, not just your first one, is that you only use it for things you can afford. I said it just a minute ago, I'll say it again now. Don't be spending extra on a credit card just to try and increase that credit utilization, okay? Yes, it's a nice to have a little bit extra, but it's much more important that you are managing it responsibly and you're not going to get out of control with that spending, okay? So if you have spending that can increase that credit utilization, if you've got that, then you can give it a go, and that will hopefully, no guarantees, but hopefully help improve your credit report as well. But again, don't just sort of see these numbers as something to aim for, a credit limit or a credit utilization level. They're not targets to go for. They're just there to help you manage and know exactly be responsible with your spending on those cards. So next up, I've got a bunch of questions around the interest rate and APR and exactly what they are and when you pay that money back and how you can avoid it. This first one here from Ryan. At what point do you pay the interest? Obviously, from what you said, paying it off straight away would avoid this. But what is the usual timescale? Is it the end of every month if you've not paid up what you used in that month? Okay, so some really important things here to think about how the credit card billing works and how interest works with credit cards in terms of the timings. Let's assume that you have got a month, a calendar month is your cycle. Normally, it's probably like a month from when you first applied. So if it was on the 15th, it'd be run from the 15th to the 14th for the next month. But let's assume it's a normal month from the 1st to the 30th. When that month ends, a few days later, you'll get sent a statement. And it might be online, it might be in the post. And that statement will say, look, over these 30 days, over this month, you spent 50 quid, 250 quid, 500 quid, whatever it is on the credit card. And then it will say, you have got until this date to either make the minimum repayment or clear it completely. So it won't be sort of straight away. The month ends and you must clear it. Wait till the statement comes through and then it will tell you the date. So you've got a bit of time from afterwards to do that. And obviously what it also means, when that month ends, say on the 30th of the month, if you spent money on the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd of the next month, that won't count in that statement period. That goes into the following month. So you're always a little bit in arrears, which can be a bit annoying for budgeting and keeping track of your spending. So you've got to be smart on this. You've got to keep on top of it. Anyway, so you've got that statement that's come through and you've got that date of when you have to make at least the minimum repayment. Now, the minimum repayment is vital, okay? Because if you don't make the minimum, often it's something like a £5 or 1 or 2% of the balance that you owe. You will get hit with penalty charges. You'll be marked down as a default of the payment. You've not made any payment at all. And that's a bad news for your credit report. So you want to avoid that. Make at least the minimum repayment. But as I said in the other video, and I'll say it loads of times today, make sure you, if you can, and really, really, really want to be doing this, if you can't do this, you shouldn't be spending on a credit card in the best of circumstances. Clear it completely. So if you owe 50 quid, you pay 50 quid. If you owe 150 quid, you pay 150 quid. You owe £500, you clear £500 off that from your current account. You pay that off. Now, you can use that as a one-off payment. You can use your debit card and just do that. You can use a check if anyone's still got checks. Or you can set up a direct debit. And this direct debit, you can set it for the full amount every month. So you don't have to forget, there's no risk that you're going to miss this. It will go out on a set date every month. And the amount will vary, obviously, depending on how much you owe in that statement, but it means you won't forget at all. Now, still on interest, we've got this one here from Mystic XYZ17. Do you only get charged APR if you don't pay on time? And yet, so build on that. The APR is charged on any balance that is left that isn't paid off by the due date. So you get the statement date, then you get the due date for that payment. If you don't, anything that's left on that card from that statement period, okay, not the days after that statement was issued, but from that statement period, if anything is left, you will be charged interest on that. So you want to avoid that because it's going to cost you money and it's not going to help your credit report in any way. The only difference there is if you've got a 0% credit card. There are 0% balance transfer credit cards and 0% purchase credit cards. These work in different ways. You get videos looking at those if you want to learn more about them. But those ones, you don't have to clear the entire balance because you've got a certain amount of time. It could be a year, could be 18 months, could be 2 years, whatever it is, to get that debt reduced and no interest is charged, but you will have to make that minimum repayment. Now, sticking with this, we've got Jessica asking, this is probably a stupid question, but say I don't use my credit card for 1 month, will I still have to pay the monthly minimum payment of say £5? So what I say, there are no stupid questions. If you don't know something, ask, okay? Otherwise you could end up making a mistake and that could be costly. So it's really important that you ask those things if you're not sure. So yeah, well, Jess, basically, if you don't use your card at all for 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, whatever it is, if there's nothing on there, if there's no money owed, then there's no payment to make. There's no minimum to make. Your balance is zero, so you will pay nothing at all. Another question on paying them back, this time from Evan. I intend on getting one when I'm 18. I'm still quite confused about paying it back. Say, for example, my limit for the month is £600, but I only spend 50. Would I have to pay back the 50 quid or the 550 quid that's left? This may seem simple to so many people and I may look very stupid for asking this. Again, no stupid questions. Really important to ask this and be clear so you know what you're doing with your first credit card. Now, again, you only pay back what you owe. So if you spent 50 quid, you owe 50 quid. If you've got another 550 available for you to spend and you don't use it, doesn't matter. You can just ignore it, okay? So that's really important there. Now, this question here from Tyron talks about what I was talking about just now a little bit. How do you pay off the credit card? Do you manually have to transfer money to the credit card, or is there a way to send money automatically? So as I mentioned before, the best option there, I would say, if you really, really, really want to make sure that you don't miss this at all, is to set up a direct debit from your current account going to your credit card. Now, you can set this for the minimum or a fixed amount or the full amount. As I said before, the full amount is the best way to ensure that you don't accidentally forget and then have some money sitting there that you get charged interest on. Now, there are some risks with that, of course, that you might, if you aren't paying attention to how much is on the credit card, you might not have enough in your current account. It's very easy if you're paying for things with a card over here to overestimate how much you've actually got available to spend from your debit card, from your current account. So there are a few things you can do to try and make this work a little bit smoother for you. If you've got an account like Monzo or Starling, any account which has like a separate pot, you can transfer money as soon as you spend on the credit card. You can transfer that money into one of those pots and just call it credit card fund. So every time you make a transaction, you transfer it over, transfer it over, transfer it over. Then make sure you've got a reminder in your calendar that when your statement is due, you move that money back into your main current account, and that will go through on that direct debit and it will clear it completely. If you're still worried about that, then the other option is potentially to not do it as a direct or direct debit, but have, again, a date in your diary that when that statement is due, that date comes along, that you manually transfer that money over and pay it through your online banking. So you can do it. It takes no time at all. But at least that means you're making sure it happens. You know exactly how much money you are spending. And if for some reason there's any shortfall or anything different, you can go and nab it from a savings account or wherever it might be. The other option, and this is an option again, which I mentioned earlier on, it won't help your credit report in terms of boosting your score, but it might be the best one in terms of budgeting, is if you use a credit card, and this is useful if you're using it not to improve your credit score, but you want to get added consumer protection because it costs more than £100, or maybe you've got a cashback card and you want to earn some points. As soon as you spend that money, pay it off from your debit card straight away. So you transfer the money from your current account or use your debit card to pay off a bill straight away every time you do it. Now, there's a lot more maintenance in terms of doing that, and there is that risk that it doesn't show on your credit report. But if you are really worried about it in terms of budgeting, and that's why you got it, then that's one other option you could look at. So there's another question here about repayment and how you do it. This is from Sam. So I've got a credit card and I had a question, hoping you can help me make this clear. If my credit limit was £500 and I were to make a purchase with it on, say, Amazon of £500, would I have to pay this off in full before the following month in order to pay 0% interest? If I wanted to space the repayments of this £500 borrowing, say monthly, would the only way to do this be by paying the minimum every month and also paying the interest? What if I paid the minimum required plus £10? Would that negate the interest and allow me to pay it monthly like I want? Okay, so a few things to unpack here. The first one is, if your credit limit, if you've reached your credit limit, then you can't spend on it until you have cleared money on that card. So that's obviously, if that gets the situation, and I've had this before where I've had a big purchase and it's hit the limit, then I've actually cleared it off early rather than waiting for the direct debit to come round. So I've got a bit more on there for other expenses. So I did that when we bought our sofa, for example, and it was more than my credit limit. I put some of it on there and then wiped it off so I had a bit more time for other purchases. So yes, absolutely, you need to do that. Now, in terms of you don't have that £500 that month after making that purchase to clear it straight away that month, then if you don't, let's say you put £100 on it, there's £400 left, you will pay interest on that £400 until that is gone. If the next month you knock off another £100, well, you'll have £300 plus you'll have the interest that you were added to that previous £400 to pay, knock 100 and so on like that. So it takes time. This is where they get you. Obviously, paying a large amount of like £100 will means you'll pay it faster and you'll pay less interest. If you pay just the minimum, these things can go on for months and months and months and months and months, even years and years, and you end up paying a huge amount of interest. So this is why when I talk about credit cards all the time, I really, really encourage you to only get them if it's something that you can afford anyway, and you're using a credit card for things like getting cashback or rewards, getting that extra consumer protection, or potentially building up your credit score, or the last one, and we'll talk a bit more about this now, if you're trying to spread the cost of something that's expensive, you don't have the money for now, but you know you will over time. Now, a normal credit card that charges you interest isn't the one to use this for, because you will be paying, whatever it is, 20, 30% interest every single month. There are some 0% purchase credit cards. I mentioned those a moment ago. This is where, for the set amount of time, and if you haven't got a great credit score, this is your first credit card, you're likely looking at maybe only a few months at 0% interest. But if you have a decent credit report, then maybe you can get longer ones. You can get sometimes ones going up to year and a half, maybe even longer. Maybe I think up to almost 2 years. With those ones, let's say you bought a new iPhone at $1,000, bloody expensive, right? But you put $1,000 and you've got 10 months to pay it off at 0%, £100 a month. You would not be charged any interest at all on that, as long as you cleared it all completely before that 0% period finished. But if you can't manage it, and it sounds like here with Sam, you think this 500 purchase, you're not going to be able to spread something out, then I would be looking elsewhere. I would not be getting a credit card to do this, because it's just going to cost you a huge amount of cash. Ideally, you save up for it, you wait until you can get it, or maybe look at some of those 0% options. I'm not going to go into detail here, but I'll be very careful of things like Klarna and other buy now, pay later services, because although they could be useful in some circumstances, they get you used to debt. They get used to borrowing for things and paying for things you don't need to borrow for. So I'll be a little bit careful of that. So this next one here from AK80, again on how you clear your card and how you can spend on it again. It says, you said that I can clear it straight away. Does that mean I can buy things again straight away after clearing it, or do I need to wait until the next month? And if yes, then doing it rapidly on my basically every purchase will make my credit score go up faster. So the first part, as I said before, you can't spend on the credit card unless there's room left in your to your credit limit. So if you're already on that, you need to clear it in order to spend on it, but you don't have to wait until the next month or next statement date. As soon as that balance is reduced, you can start spending on it again as soon as that goes. And the money's on the credit card. If you pay the credit card off, that will drop down what you owe straight away. However, you talk here about doing it on basically every single purchase. Is that a good thing? No, it's probably not. It's, as I said before, it's not about how much money you spend on the credit card. It doesn't matter if you spent thousands and thousands and thousands of pounds this way by paying it with the credit card, clearing it every day until you had loads and loads of money on there. Makes no difference. It's more about the fact that you can make a confident use of a credit card, use it and then pay it off responsibly. So really you're better off just using it for a few £100, whatever your credit limit is, trying to hit that credit utilization and then spend it the next time you do it on other expenses. The only difference maybe is if you did have a cashback or reward credit card, you can earn those points, which are great. Then maybe you might want to use it more often. And if that hits your credit limit, maybe you want to clear that more frequently. But again, you've got to make sure that you have the money in your current account to do that. So last 3 questions here. This is from Roz. Can I have my direct debits like council tax, mobile phone and internet bills paid off using a credit card? I'm in my 30s and fingers crossed and touch wood, I'm in a good financial position. It's just that I've never had a credit card and hence asking this question. So Roz, there will be some bills that you can pay with your credit card, but some of them won't be able to. And you certainly can't pay a direct debit, because a direct debit is a payment from your current account to whoever it is you're paying the money to. Okay, it's a regular payment that comes out. So that's just from your current account. You can't set them up for credit cards. However, there are some, let's say, regular purchases that you'll be making which will allow credit card payments. You have to check with them all individually, but it might be that you can pay your energy bill by credit card, but you wouldn't be able to do it by direct debits. You'd have to manually get in touch with them or go into your account and make an extra payment. And they should allow credit cards. It might vary by provider, but you never know. There are loads of other services, though, you might already be paying for with that long card number from your debit card, like some Netflix or Spotify or things like that. You can pay for them with credit cards if you want to as well. Now, the next question from Maria said, you recommended in another video the American Express Platinum Cashback credit card. What do you think is better, Tesco or American Express? So this is actually quite similar in some ways to loads of questions you get. In fact, the most frequent question I'll get will be a variation of, what do you think of X credit card? Is X credit card a good first-time credit card? Is this credit card better than this credit card? Ultimately, for your first credit card, the one that you're getting, and actually, do you know what? This is true for any time you're applying for a credit card. The best credit card for you is to be the one that you've got the best chance of getting accepted for. So if all things are equal, if you've got the most amazing credit score and every single credit card is available to you, then you can start looking at whether this card is better than this card. And often for me personally, that comes down to the cashback or reward rate. So how much money are you going to make from having that credit card? And they say there are all sorts of different ones. They've got a whole video looking at the best American Express credit cards, and also my monthly credit card video update that I do takes you through the best options out there. So if you can get one of those, then great, fantastic. And as long as you do, as I've said before many times in this video, you pay it off in full every single month, then yes, American Express will be better than the Tesco one because you're earning points. You're earning money back for your spending. So fantastic. However, the other cards, let's talk about the other ones. If your credit limit, your credit rating doesn't say you can get all the cards. You know, I mentioned in the other video, this is so important. An eligibility check before you apply for anything. Often via comparison site is the best place to go. It will list all the cards you can get. These 10 cards, you've got 8 out of 10 chance of this one, a 5 out of 10 chance of this one, a 2 out of 10 chance of this one. If they're all pretty much doing the same thing, go for the one that's 8 out of 10 chance of getting it. Not a guarantee. It's only a guarantee if it's 100%. But that card is going to be better than the other card because you can get it. Because if you're rejected, that's going to hurt your credit report. But if they all say 2 out of 10 and you really want to go for it, 2 out of 10 isn't 0 out of 10. There is a chance you'll get it. But it's very difficult to know which one you might have the better chance on because it's saying 2 out of 10 for all of them. Again, if all things are equal, then you might want to look at some of the other features. There are some bonuses that you can sometimes get with first-time credit cards and other credit cards, often via cashback sites. Maybe it's 20 quid or 30 quid extra. Again, I'll list those in this video I do every single month, the latest offers. So that's what I would say there. Don't get too hooked up on the brand right now. The most important thing is if you're thinking about getting it purely for building your credit score, you're getting the one that you've got the best chance of getting accepted. Now, before we move on to the last question, and it is a really great question here from Sammy about how long you need to do this for, I've got a favor to ask. And this is, if you found this useful or any other videos that I've made, if it's helped you with your finances, please do hit that like button below. Leave me a comment, leave me a question if you've got more things you want to find out about this or any other money matters. Really would appreciate it. And of course, if you haven't already, don't forget to hit that subscribe button, little notification bell as well so you don't miss any of my future videos. Right, let's have a look at Sammy's question then. And this is, how long should one maintain a beginner credit card? How many months on a beginner credit card will demonstrate to credit companies that you're a good person to lend to? So unfortunately, this isn't going to be an instant fix for you. And in fact, it's going to vary hugely. There's no kind of golden rule. But you would hope to see after about 3 months' time, hopefully you start to see those payments. You've demonstrated that you've borrowed money on a credit card, you've spent on it, and you've paid it off completely in full. So there's no debt, there's no missed payments, there's no interest being accrued. For about 3 months, you'll start to see some movement. But the longer you do this, then the more improvement you will see and continual improvement over time. Now, the way to check this, I'm sure you guys know this already, but if you don't, I've got a whole video that will take you through the 3 different credit reference agencies which track your credit report and give you a score. So do check that one out. I'll link to it up here and I'll link to it below. Don't have to pay for it. It's free to check all 3 of these. So make sure you're doing that and see if things are improving. But I wouldn't sort of sit here and that's the only thing that you need to do is this credit card, this first time credit card. There are many other things you can do, like making sure you're registered on the electoral roll, like making sure there aren't any errors on your credit report. All those things are equally as important. Do all of this and start seeing your score improve. And if you do see it jump up and you're thinking, right, okay, fantastic, maybe I can now get a better credit card, one that does offer reward points perhaps, or maybe you need a loan of some kind or whatever it might be. Again, use those eligibility checkers to find out what you're likely to get if you're likely to get accepted. This could be a long process, but if you're starting off, then at least you're sort of making a good start. My name is Andy Webb. Once again, thank you so much for watching. Until next time, cheers. And here are a couple more videos you might find interesting.